this is Kermit the Frog.
Fascinating.
I'm Captain Kirk.
Magic is always there, as long as we keep looking for it.
Engage.
What does God need with a starship?
Thank you, love you. Mwah.
I protest. I am not a merry man.
Places, please, and here we go.
Down at Fraggle Rock.
Welcome, Doozers, Gorgs, Trash Heaps, Norcadians, and Things, to episode 156 of the MuppeTrek Podcast. I'm Jarman.
And I'm Steve. We are on a continuing journey across the stars to compare and contrast the worlds of Jim Henson and Gene Roddenberry.
And what started as reviews of The Muppet Show and Star Trek the original series has expanded into outer space.
And this week we have Fraggle Rock episode Sir Hubris and the Gorgs, and Star Trek The Next Generation episode The Bonding. We just have to say it that way.
The Bonding.
The Bonding.
It's really not like that.
Not at all.
But before we get into the bonding, I want to rock.
Well, there's all kinds of gems, jewels, and geodes in the world, many of which can be found in Fraggle Rock. And this week's gem is, ready for this, chicken bloodstone.
The hell?
Yeah, that's what I said too. I was like, what the hell? Chicken bloodstone is not a traditional gem. It is actually a fusion of hardened clay, quartz with strips of cinnabar in it, which has these really vibrant reds. And so it's this beautiful, like brown to gray to super bright red contrast. And the value of the stones is basically measured on how high that red contrast is. This was, it was recorded as early as in the Ming Dynasty, in palace inventories, and they've been used for carving for like centuries. But the quality of them varies really, really widely. So because of that, they don't have a set hardness on the Mohs hardness scale because it depends on the density of the clay. So the super dense clay is like almost like truly like a gem. It is like, you know, it is hard like a rock, but in some cases the clay is softer, harder to mold, harder to shape. And so because of this, they range a huge amount. This is my favorite thing. So the non-red portion of the thing is called the dong. And the dong can be white, the dong could be yellow, or the dong could be gray.
Ooh, don't want to be gray.
And specimens are often classified by their dong color. So that is chicken bloodstone, and that rocks.
Oh, that rocks.
I want to rock!
God. The things we learn on this podcast.
Dong color.
Don't tell me yours.
Gray. It's gray.
Go to the doctor.
Yes. Well, this week in Fraggle Rock, what's up, Doc? A big storm is coming through, and Doc brings in the mail, remarking that it only brings bad news. And the last thing he needs is another postcard for Gobo Fraggle, which he throws in the trash. He spots a leak in the roof, and he makes Sprocket balance his own dog bowl on his head to catch the water. The leak gets worse, and Doc decides it's time to get on the roof. Sprocket is terrified. What's going down in Fraggle Rock? Gobo and Wembley are on their way to get Uncle Traveling Matt's postcard when Wembley is trying to give Gobo advice on his next big adventure, but only confuses Gobo's path with his indecision. Back at the Rock, Red and Moki stumble upon out of the Gorg's garden. Moki and Red stumble upon a Gorg heart-to-heart chat. Gobo returns with the postcard. He sings a lovely tune, Only Way Home, and this might be the best song of the season so far.
It's
with
pretty darn
amazing
good.
female vocals mixed in a duet. It was really, really
From
good.
that random monster.
Yeah, and I tried to look up who did it. Couldn't find it. Like,
weird.
Muppet Wiki doesn't have it, which is kind of crazy.
Wow.
Gobo returns with, Gobo sees something at the end of a tunnel. He suddenly is hit by an earthquake while he's out looking for his next big adventure. He presses on, coming out of a mouse hole in the Gorg's home. He listens in on a private Gorg conversation, but then he's spotted and narrowly escapes. He goes back to tell the others about his experience and says that Uncle Traveling Matt's postcard bears relevance here. Uncle Traveling Matt experienced small silly creatures who disguise themselves, and other silly creatures give them food. He is mistaken for one of the little silly creatures and receives a treat. This gives Gobo an idea to be rid of the Gorgs for once and for all. Gobo coordinates with the others to stand in a trench coat, like a brown cloak, Muppet Ladder style. He wants to impersonate Sir Hubris, who he heard about the Gorgs in their legend. But the Fraggles' legs won't hold out. They restack and head to the Gorgs' garden in their brown cloak. They successfully convince the Gorgs to leave, but realize that on doing so, they're going to take all the radishes. And they overhear the Gorgs' plans to take the trash heap and throw it down the well, which would contaminate their water. They dress back up and head back to the Gorgs' garden to try to convince them otherwise. In the Gorgs' garden, Ma and Pa notice that Junior is a growing boy, and it's time for Pa to give Junior the talks about the fact of life and how one day Junior will rule the universe. Lesson 1, kings don't cry. Lesson 2, kings don't thump Fraggles. They get subjects to do it. But do they have subjects? Pa admits no, not yet. They rule no one. That night, Junior, in an overexcited state, is jumping up and down, and Ma reads him the legend of Sir Hubris. This is crazy Gorg lore here, guys. This is legit crazy Gorg lore. Before time began, the entire universe was ruled by Sir Hubris, who was not a Gorg, but he was short and skinny, but he had a deep want to explore the rest of the realm. He gave his crown to the first Gorg king, King Gorgus the Great, and since that time, Gorgs have ruled the universe. But legend says that when Hubris returns, the crown has to be returned to him, and the Gorgs will no longer rule the universe. Crazy Gorg lore. Junior spots Gobo, and chaos erupts as he tries to make chase after him. Junior gets freaked out and paranoid and is convinced that there's a Fraggle invasion coming, and on lookout, he falls out of the watchtower, which I loved. Again. I loved it the first time. I loved it more this time. Junior comes out and confronts a cloaked figure. Sir Hubris has returned. He summons his Ma and Pa, who begin to immediately mourn the fact that they are no longer going to rule the universe. But they resign themselves and they prepare to leave. Junior decides he's going to take all of his radishes with him, and Pa says, hey, take that trash heap and throw it down the well. The Gorgs sing a really sad, somber song called Doom Dee Doom about their impending doom and the fearful times ahead of them. Just then, Sir Hubris reappears. He says that they can stay, but their destiny is sealed in the legend, and they have no choice but to leave. Sir Hubris addresses them once more, and bam, the cloak goes away, and it was a farce all along. Those pesky Fraggles tricked them. They realize that it wasn't Sir Hubris, so they don't have to leave, and they continue to rule the universe. So that was this week's episode of Fraggle Rock. What did you think, Jarman?
I think it's great. I think it was last episode we did was the Doozer episode about Doozer lore.
All Doozer, all Gorg.
Yeah, and so when I get this big Gorg lore thing, I'm of the mind that Sir Hubris is human.
That's kind of how I took it too,
kind of what they're
honestly.
insinuating, because he's bigger than a Fraggle. He's skinny, so he's not a weird creature, but he's also like, that would be the right human size, like 3 Fraggles tall. Is still a little short for a human-ish.
And I think that they've said, I looked this up. Hold on. How tall are Gorgs?
Yeah.
Fraggle Rock. Because someone did the math on this when they did the comparison. Gorgs are often cited at around, this says 22 to 15 feet.
Wow. Because they show the painting of the Gorgus, the first Gorg king, with Sir Hubris, and Sir Hubris is like about half his height.
Yeah.
So he could be like a 6.5 foot tall man. That could be like,
yeah.
work.
So let's assume 15 feet. I guess that's possible.
Maybe he's just a real tall guy,
So who was this guy then?
Shaquille O'Neal.
Who was, no, but I'm saying not the tallness, but like, who was this guy
that was traveling, exploring the multiverse?
Who, like, was the ruler and left it to them.
And he's some smaller statured explorer who's bigger than a Fraggle, smaller than a Gorg, thin in the brown robes. I hope we find out down the line.
I don't know. I doubt we ever will, but this I think is one of the bigger implications.
Yeah.
For the world. And now, mind you, this is also adding to my own headcanon where, like, I think that Fraggle Rock was a meteor or something
from space
that struck the Earth and created so much energy that it ripped a hole.
Like space-time and like...
In realities. Yeah, in space-time.
So it's our regular Earth, but then when you walk through that hole in Doc's wall, you go to a different reality entirely.
Yeah. You're not... Fraggle Rock is not in the Earth. At least by my head.
It's another dimension. It's a wormhole to another part of space. It could be a lot of different
things. Magic exists there. And it doesn't exist in our world.
There's a lot going on here.
There's a lot going on, guys. I didn't think we were going to get this deep in Fraggle Rock, but man, are we deep in it.
Oh, yeah.
And then you got Doozer collective consciousness and hive mind shit going on.
A trash heap comes alive and has magical powers.
That's right.
It's weird.
Oh, man.
There's a lot of great things this episode. One thing I put a note down was the Gorgs have like this saying that they're making canon now, where they go, "Hey, nani nani," like when they're saying like, praise be.
Yeah.
And that's like what I remember from Robin Hood Men in Tights, which came after this. But
hey, nani nani,
hey, nani nani, hey, nani.
I remember it well.
They said that. You'll talk about it later, but there's a Kermit Miss Piggy reference. I'm sure we might.
Yes, there is. That was great.
So we don't have any doozers in this episode, but man, we got a lot of them last episode, and we had no Gorgs.
I was really bummed
episode.
I had to completely skip what the doozers do.
Yeah, but
section.
It's like
they weren't even in like the background. I don't think of anything. They just weren't
saw
there.
One for like a second.
Maybe,
but we had these other random monsters that Gobo ran into. So there's a lot that made up for it. But we haven't had Trash Heap in a couple episodes though, so that was kind of
that is true. We are really missing Marjorie this season.
I know, but I mean, this was it. There was no dawdling in this episode. It was all story. It was all plot. It was all in good songs. Like this is on the top heap so far for one of the top heaps for season 2
I agree.
So far.
Between, once again, what was the name of the song? One of the songs was honestly the best. Only Way Home was honestly, I think, the best song of this season.
So far.
Great female vocals. We get huge Gorg lore, which, like, who thought I would ever say that sentence?
Gorg lore.
Gorg lore. Huge Gorg lore, which just, for me now, as I've built headcanon, is a great thing. I'll take it. I loved the reciprocity of they always hinted the symbiotic relationship between the Fraggles and the Gorgs.
Oh, yeah.
The Fraggles don't keep the water running, then the Gorg's garden won't grow, and if the Gorg's garden will grow, they won't eat the radishes, and then doozers can't mine them and make doozer sticks, and the water all comes from Doc's broken water heater in our world. Like,
yeah, how does it all make sense?
Asteroid hitter. That's how it makes sense.
That's right.
But I think just between all those big implications, it was just a really good episode. Probably
they're
the best of the season, realistically.
I hope they can keep this up and like this, build more of the lore, more of the stories, and make it less about just nebulous weird things and people wandering around. It was really good. It was really good. Yeah.
I don't know. I've got a feeling we're not going to get a ton of lore stuff. I've got a feeling we're going to have to go headcanon on a lot of this.
Probably. But we can.
Which is okay. If we're the first people to think this in depth about Fraggle Rock, I'm okay with that.
Yeah. There's too many podcasts out there talking about just the Muppets, but we went into Fraggle Rock, people, as adults, as grown men, talking about Fraggle Rock.
And Star Trek. Eat it.
Eat it.
They said it couldn't be done. The hell with them.
All those people said this couldn't be done.
All the naysayers.
Sons of bitches.
That's right. All right. Well, what were those silly creatures up to this week? Well, the little creatures receiving treats were trick-or-treaters, and two of them were dressed as Kermit and Piggy.
Yes.
But I loved that. I'm not going to say the costumes weren't very good, but they were like homemade Kermit and Piggy costumes.
Pretty much.
They weren't like professional costumes, which I appreciated that much more.
Miss Piggy's was kind of creepy, actually.
They were both kind of creepy.
Yeah.
Going door to door for food is not really a new concept. It kind of all started, surprisingly, the Celtic festival of Samhain, which is partially what inspired Halloween, was a night when they thought the dead walked the earth, and people would dress up in costume and give food offering to appease these spirits. Then in the Middle Ages, peasants would go door to door to lords and ladies' homes, and they would offer prayers for them and their dead relatives in exchange for these little sugary things called soul cakes.
Oh, wow.
So that it should, so that was door to door. Immigrants brought versions of this sort of with them to America, but it didn't hit its prime here in the U.S. until the Great Depression. With times tight and sugar being heavily rationed, parents banded together to form these progression parties where one house would provide face paint and the next house would have a sweet treat and the next one would be a haunted house and so on. And then therefore we're able to collectively give groups of kids a really good night when a single family wouldn't be able to handle it.
That's nice.
So this tradition kind of formed in the U.S. during that time. But then after World War II, sugar rationing lifted. Candy companies went off. Like, there went off from being only a few candy companies to hundreds all of a sudden because sugar was available. And a lot of them turned their marketing dollars towards Halloween. And that is how it kind of became the candy holiday.
And you can learn more about that in our Halloween episodes of In Play on Nerds back in the day. We've done some Halloween factoids.
I didn't have to research most of this. I was actually very pleased. I remembered most of this from when I did it on the episode.
Who knows what?
8 years ago.
Yeah. Some of that was new, though. Some of that I don't remember.
Well, then I've talked about Samhain during the Halloween episode too. Right. I like that this episode is close enough to Halloween. It feels like we did this on purpose.
Not far
It's all
off.
good. It's all good. We did it by mistake. So that's what those silly creatures were up to. Jarman, what did you think was the best Muppeteering moment this week?
So this is a weird one, but it's just something I happened to notice. If you go back and watch it, if you didn't notice it before, when Doc, you didn't mention it in your review, actually, at the end, Doc gets stuck in the roof. And they cut back.
You're right.
And so his foot goes through the roof, and they do a close up of his foot coming through the roof and kind of wiggling back and forth. It's not a real foot. It's like a Muppet foot, or just like
animatronic, or something.
like on a stick or something. And then when they go to the wide shot, it's now obviously a real man's leg in the wide shot. And so the close-up is just one big, long black boot. And then the wide shot, you can see the boot and a leg. And it's definitely a real person's leg. So I was like, that's just weird. It made me giggle that this strange close-up of like a fake leg that's like obviously like
I'm going to have to rewatch that.
It's really weird.
I didn't remember it being that spectacular, but you're right. In my description, I left Doc on the roof in a rainstorm.
Yeah, you didn't say what happened to him. I was like, So eventually Doc gets back in and he's just all wet. And he apologizes to Sprocket, which is amazing. He actually said, I'm so sorry I didn't listen to you. It's dangerous out there. I shouldn't have taken that chance. I'm so glad you went and got Mr. Schimmelfinny to go save me off the roof. So yeah, that was just for some reason, my favorite Muppetry moment was that weird little fake foot that was up in the roof.
Wow. What a thing. We've had some strange things like that win before, so I'm not that surprised. I said it during the review. I loved it when Junior fell out of the watchtower. I hope it's something that we get to see many times.
He never learns his lesson.
It's just good physical comedy. The movement tells the story. It's a bit that can live in the wide shot, which is where comedy wants to be. For all those factors, it just reads well every time to me.
And the noises he makes and the things he said, it's fantastic.
Oh yeah, and a huge chunk of that's just sound design. Like truly a huge chunk of sound design.
We don't see much at all.
No, you don't. You see him up there and then you see him down there. And that's kind of it.
Good times.
So, Jarman, what happened on this week's episode of Star Trek, The Bonding?
Ooh, the bonding. If only it was that, but it's not. The Enterprise is conducting an archaeological survey on a planet when things go very wrong and an explosion kills one of its crew members, Lieutenant Marla Astor. Troy lets Picard know after they get her body onto the ship that Marla actually has a son on the Enterprise, and that Jeremy Astor, and he's already lost his father years ago, so he's an orphan now. So now Picard, as the captain, has to go deliver the news to this boy that his mother is dead. Worf was commanding the mission, and he immediately feels responsible. His Klingon honor is having an effect on him that he, under someone else's command, was accidentally killed. And he says to Troy, the way to handle this is he has to do a bonding ritual with the boy who's left behind by someone that was under his care and his command, who will then join his family, in a sense, in this bonding ritual to honor his mother and his mother, who was also gone. Meanwhile, Troy and Picard are trying to help Jeremy deal with the loss of his mother by talking about his feelings instead of doing Klingon rituals. But just as everyone's trying to figure out how to help the kid, this strange alien entity appears on the ship and takes the form of Jeremy's mother. And she tries to pretend that she's really his mom, and she claims she can give Jeremy a perfect life, and she even recreates their old home inside of his cabin. Troy is there and tries to tell Jeremy that this is a fantasy world, this isn't real, and if he stays here with this woman, he'll be trapped in denial forever because the woman wants to take him down to the planet and create this fake house for him for eternity. So Troy and Picard try to help Jeremy see that this really isn't his mother, and they bring in Worf first to try to tell him about how Worf lost his parents too, but that doesn't quite work in convincing Jeremy. So then they rope Wesley into coming in to relive his painful feelings about his father passing, even though he didn't consent to this. He basically was like an order, a Starfleet order to come in and help Jeremy face his grief. But it does work, and Jeremy then realizes he won't be alone. He can face his grief with these friends and his support network. And then the alien, realizing the boy is now in good hands, she leaves him to the crew. And that's all because apparently down on the planet, they had two races there thousands of years ago. One was physical and one was pure energy. And the pure energy beings were just forced to watch the physical beings continuously kill each other over wars over centuries. And they died out a long time ago. So now when the away team went down to the planet and Astor's mom hit one of those landmines that was there from hundreds of years ago and she died, the energy beings felt bad and they wanted the boy to be happy. But now that she realizes the boy will be okay with the crew, she lets him go. So in the end, we watched Jeremy and Worf perform the Klingon bonding ritual in which Worf pledges to be Jeremy's brother for all time. And then we never see Jeremy ever again.
That was my next question. Do we ever see Jeremy again?
Never.
Now we are brothers for now and always.
Goodbye. I'm guessing he went off to live with his aunt and uncle back on Earth or something. That's just it.
Yeah, probably.
Worf never thought about it again. So, Steve, what do you think of this episode?
Okay, so some things I like. Gripping opening, like anything that just opens with a death.
Mm-hmm.
You know, gripping. We can see like Worf's sensitive side, which is honestly an angle they have never really tried to play with him before.
That's true.
I don't know if it was entirely successful, but it was interesting to watch. Sudden ghost mom appearance, I loved how shocking that was. Worf's mama bear instincts kick in. When he encounters like the fake version of his mom, trying to guard the kid, but just is kind of powerless to kind of follow them, so to speak. And then my final note was Ghost Rider on the ship. Awesome. For anyone who remembers Ghost Rider, he was just like a little spirit that would like float between books and shit.
Oh, that show. Like, I thought you meant like Ghost Rider, like the skull. I thought you meant
No, Ghost Writer.
Oh, yes.
And like, even the animation was really similar to what I remember from Ghost Rider.
Right. Yeah.
So some things I struggled with. Man, this episode was such a drag. Fresh made orphan, Worf orphan, Wesley orphan, Picard blaming himself, Worf blaming himself, Riker drinking his sorrows away, Sad Data asking about what death means. And then my next note was just so much mopey bullshit. And then my final note was boo, making this about Wesley at the last moment. Boo.
Boo. Something you said there made me realize that since Worf is an orphan, you can just call him a Worfin.
Orphan.
Sorry. That's very stupid.
This episode, I know that it tried to end with a hopeful message. I recognize that. The fact that we never see the kid again, not helpful.
No.
But I get it. But the whole episode just is down, and I couldn't take it. It was bad. I did not care for this episode.
Not the most well balanced. I kind of thought that they were a collection of good scenes that were well acted and well written, but then those scenes didn't go together to accomplish anything. Like the scene with Riker and Data talking about death. Great scene, well written, well acted. Like that was a good point that he made. If we all cared about each other, our people dying as much as we did someone dying if it's a loved one, we'd have less wars and battles in our history. Like that's a great story to tell. It's interesting. The kid actor who played Jeremy Astor was pretty good. I've seen worse kid actors. The Worf and Troy scenes were interesting, kind of tempering Worf's wanting to do honor rituals. And she's like, well, we got to talk this kid as a human child. You know, he has different sensibilities. The scene with Wesley Crusher and Dr. Crusher, remembering Jack Crusher, his father, dying, and they both start crying and holding each other. Good scene. But just, you're right. There's too many of these scenes in one episode.
Over and so it's like over.
You have so many well-acted, sad scenes about death, and there's nothing to balance that out. And then also to have no real good point made at the end, except for, you know, you have to deal with death. Oh, I know. That sucks. I don't know. So I think it was not made like my least favorite episode of the season so far, just because it had a lot of good acting and good scenes, but it failed to deliver something that was entertaining or made a good point. And there wasn't a good B plot to go off of either. It's like, oh, kind of there's something happening in the planet, but who cares, you know, kind of deal. Yeah. So that's kind of what I'm at with this episode too.
Yeah. And I think like there's little ways I think they could have tweaked it. You know, honestly, I think I'd have a very different perspective if Wesley had been more forthcoming.
Mm-hmm.
And this would have, yes, been about the kid who lost his mother, but would have also been about Wesley's journey to embrace the death of his father.
Building his character for future episodes.
And he kind of did, because he talked about how mad he was at Picard and like kind of spilled that for the first time. But it would have felt better if it was his episode.
Yeah.
And then what would have felt even better is after Wesley failed to get through to this kid, then they bring in Worf, and we get the reminder that Worf is also an orphan.
That's a Worfin, yeah.
And then, yeah, he's a Worfin. And then at the end, he inducts both Wesley and this kid into the Brotherhood.
That would have been cool.
Like, that would have been a better story. It would have made it a Wesley story.
From the beginning, as opposed to just kind of
from the beginning,
as
opposed to tacking him in and then losing track of him again.
Right. I like that.
So I don't know. I think this was not successful.
Yeah, but if Wesley became Worf's brother too, then we would never have seen Wesley again. So that would be bad.
That's true. Gone.
I don't talk to my family. Yeah. So not the greatest episode there. Some Trek facts for this. Ronald D. Moore, the writer, his original idea was for Jeremy Astor to recreate his mother on the holodeck, and not that she came back as an alien, whatever. But Gene Roddenberry himself nixed the idea, believing in the 24th century, children would have a greater acceptance of death, which is kind of what the whole episode was about, that they're just still just kids and nobody has a great acceptance of death, but whatever. This is the debut of Ronald D. Moore, who went on to become a huge sci-fi writer. He did most of Deep Space Nine. He did all of 2004's Battlestar Galactica. If you look him up now, he's gone outside of sci-fi now. He does lots of different kinds of shows. Huge writer in Hollywood. In an AOL chat in 1998, the writer Ronald D. Moore admitted that he was not a big fan of Gabriel Damon's performance as Jeremy Astor, the kid actor, adding that it would have been interesting to continue the relationship on the Enterprise with a different kid, as in maybe like recast him or something and keep that Jeremy Astor there. So maybe they were going to, but just didn't like the actor, so they just kind of wrote his character off, kind of deal.
Yeah, and later Worf has a kid, right?
Oh,
At some point?
And that doesn't go well either.
Good.
After this episode, Worf's, this is the last thing. After this episode, Worf's brother Aster was never seen nor mentioned again.
Yeah, how about that?
I wonder if he's in the books or something. I have to check memory beta sometime.
Oh, everyone's in the books.
Yeah, Jeremy Aster's big return.
That's right.
He's like a Klingon commander or something.
He is the first Borg king for some reason.
Yeah. But Steve, what are our Trek connections this time around?
Well, Lieutenant Marla Aster, autocorrect tried to help me and changed it to Laster. Marla Aster was played by actress Susan Powell, who was in 2 of the 13 episodes of the George Burns comedy half-hour comedy hour. George Burns, of course, was special guest on an episode of The Muppet Show.
Mm-hmm.
There you go. And Jeremy Aster, played by actor Gabriel Damon, who you mentioned, he's most famously, and I recognize him right away, he is Spot Conlon, the leader of the Bad Brooklyn Kids in Newsies.
Oh.
Never fear, Brooklyn is here. Yeah, that's him. But what I didn't know that he was the voice of Littlefoot in The Land Before Time.
Oh, wow.
In that movie, also doing some sounds, and the character Spike was Frank Welker, prolific vocal performer. He played the Stegosaurus Spike, and he was also the voice of Baby Kermit and Baby Skeeter in seasons 3 through 8 of Muppet Babies.
Wow, those are some connections.
Yeah, that's right. They may have met once.
Maybe at the premiere.
Maybe.
And there's only 10 Land Before Time movies, so, maybe more.
Hey, yeah, there are.
God.
You're not wrong.
But that's because these are the same episode of some very similar things. Both feature a mysterious character from the past showing up and causing chaos. The fake Sir Hubris in Fraggle Rock and the fake Mrs. Aster in Star Trek.
Mine is similar, but a little different. Both features character taking on false identities. The Fraggles becoming Sir Hubris and the entity becoming Marla Aster.
That's true. Similar but different.
Similar.
Yeah. Because they're so similar, these episodes. Both
Same.
Both have a child, in quotations, having a fear of no home. Because Jeremy Aster, when he no longer has any parents and his mom dies, they keep saying, he's like, I have nowhere to go. I have nobody. And Junior Gorg is being forced to leave his home now that Sir Hubris has returned, because he's not really a child. I guess he's a child. Junior Gorg, I can't tell.
Yeah, he's kind of like a man baby.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, here's the thing. In the episode, they established that he is getting to an age, and the parallel they draw is that it was supposed to be the sex talk.
Yeah,
that was
the
so you got to figure, like, maybe Junior Gorg's like 14.
Yeah, he's like the equivalent of a 14-year-old Gorg.
Both feature the story of 2 races trying and failing to live side by side, the Fraggles and the Gorgs, and the extinct alien races from the planet.
Very nice. That's true.
The energy beings and the physical beings.
I totally see that. Oh, God. What's that noise?
Transporter malfunction.
I don't know.
Transporter malfunction.
It's that time of the episode where we take one character from one of the episodes and switch them to the other one like crazy and vice versa. So what you got for us, Steve?
We're mad.
We're crazy.
Trek to Rock, I'm going to bring over Worf to replace Junior Gorg. I think that he would take the ways of the Gorg very seriously.
Oh, yes.
And would accept the advice of conquest and take it to heart and go to conquer the universe.
And then he'd go mad because there's no one to conquer because there's nobody there. There's no subjects. There's nobody to conquer. Anyway, from Trek to Rock.
So sad.
I'd have Marla Aster in the alien form come over to replace the Fraggles that were dressed up as Sir Hubris, because I basically have her be Sir Hubris, because she could actually make the real prophecy come into motion. Like, she could have the whatever powers Sir Hubris had. Like, she would be the new king of the universe, queen of the universe.
Okay. Rock to Trek, bring over the stack of Fraggles in the brown cloak and have them masquerade as Ghost Marla Aster, kind of the opposite of yours. Cruelly tricking the boy, only to break his heart.
Worf walks in, he's like, but that is just 3 Fraggles in a coat.
that is not your mother, and it cuts to them like in that wobbly formation.
What are you talking about? Looks just like her. See, I even touched her. You're touching what?
That is my mother, Worf.
I bring Papa Gorg to replace Worf.
Okay.
So he could be a Gorg who's lost his family. And so the new ritual is that he's getting Jeremy Astor to be the new heir to the Gorg throne. So he basically adopts Jeremy Astor to be the future Gorgs.
And we never see him again.
And we never see him ever again. But that brings us to the end of episode 156 of the MuppeTrek Podcast.
Join us next time for Fraggle Rock episode, A Friend in Need.
And Star Trek The Next Generation episode, Booby Trap.
So from the lovers, the dreamers, and us.
Live long and prosper, everyone.
Thanks for listening to the MuppeTrek Podcast. Be sure to follow us on social media on Facebook and Twitter.
Subscribe to us on Apple Podcasts, YouTube, Spotify, or your favorite podcast platform.
This podcast has been brought to you by A Play on Nerds.